I've been listening to your podcast for several months now. Basically, I started listening probably around 6 months ago, I think. And then I think it was only about maybe three or four podcasts ago, maybe even more recent than that. All of a sudden, you had talked about other viewers getting in touch with you and trying to call you on the accent. Where's this accent from? Etc. And then you finally said, like, no, I'm not here. I'm not there. I'm actually Norwegian. And I was like, no way. And then I had to reach out, obviously, because I'm starting this little project on the side, promote your business in Oslo. And I thought, you're here. Why don't we connect and I can learn more about what you're doing, your interests, what fascinates you in these crazy characters, and go from there. So why don't you just tell me to start, like, what fascinates you about serial killers?
Well, I've been fascinated by serial killers for many years. I guess I started my interest back in 1999, 2000. I was a frequent visitor to the site crimelibrary.com. I don't know if you've heard about it. Today it's defunct, but I think it's part LiveLeak. You know LiveLeak?
I do know LiveLeak. Yep.
Yeah, LiveLeak and True TV is the continuation of the crimelibrary.com. So I was on Crime Library because well, I had some spare time, and I've I've always liked true crime more than fictional crime, because reality always supersedes fiction. So I was on Crime Library and started reading about everything about crime, basically. And then I came across several cases about serial killers. And one of the serial killers, BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill, that was my second podcast episode, I think. That was a very interesting article. It was excellently written by this author called Dave something. I mentioned his name in the podcast. And he had this really long article about how BTK still wasn't caught. He was still on the loose. And while I was reading this, the next day, the article changed, and someone had written, because there was this phrase in the article saying, and we'll probably never know, or something like that, in regards to him being, his identity being unknown. And then someone had added, or is it, or something like that, of that effect. So obviously someone had gotten online and made themselves known. And that was probably BTK himself. He was into computers. And it was only a year after that he was caught. And he was caught due to his activity on computers. He had a floppy disk of all things that the police managed to trace back to his church, where he was the in Norwegian is called klokker. He was like the caretaker of that, the highest civilian or something like that. He was very, very religious, at least on the surface. So when I saw that, I was kind of bitten, and it just kind of went on from there. And I read everything I could about serial killers. Of course, all the famous ones: Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Edward Kemper, BTK, and Night Stalker, and all of those guys. And but this was many years ago. It was 17 years ago. So I just kind of always been there on the back burner. And then podcasts started popping up. And I really like having audio on my ear when I'm doing stuff, like when I'm doing my chores, or when I'm going to work, or at work, or exercising, running, bicycling, that sort of thing. I like to have something to listen to, and I used to listen to audiobooks mostly. But then we got podcasts going, and I started downloading a lot of different podcasts, history podcasts mostly. And I was looking for a serial killer podcast because I thought, hey, I like serial killers. There's obviously got to be something about serial killers because there was a lot of crime podcasts, true crime podcasts. You have Serial, which is very famous.
Yes.
Huge podcast. And you have Sword and Scale, and we have You Must Remember This, which is also excellent. They have a very good episode on Manson that I would recommend.
What's it called?
Well, You Must Remember This is the name of the podcast. Yeah, You Must Remember This. That's the name.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really good. It's this. It's mostly one woman that runs the whole thing, and also reads and she has an excellent voice. I don't remember her name right away, but anyway, she has a team behind her. It's a professional podcast. It's I think it's syndicated, but it's very good. And they have a Manson series going on for I think 10 episodes, and it's the best one I've heard. It's so good. But they don't have anything about serial killers because, as you know, Manson wasn't a serial killer.
No, of course, no. Never killed anybody, right?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he killed the LaBianca couple.
Okay.
He was with the family when they killed the LaBiancas.
Did he actually kill anybody, or did he have his followers do the killing?
No, he killed the LaBiancas.
Okay.
There was an elderly married couple called something LaBianca.
Okay.
I don't remember their first names, but he because he sent his family to kill the wife of Roman Polanski and all her friends. So that was 7 people, I think, in a massacre, and he didn't join that, but he was disappointed with their work there, so he went along with his family to do the next one, which was the LaBiancas. But anyway, I was looking at all of these true crime podcasts and also Making a Murderer, the Netflix show, and I still didn't find anything about serial killers. And I noticed that there were a lot of documentaries on YouTube, very good documentaries about serial killers. You can look up almost any serial killer and they will have a short little documentary about them. But no podcasts. I was searching. I found one podcast that was called, I think it was called just Serial Killers or something like that. But it was it ended, and it wasn't really good. It was like 10 minutes per episode, so, and quite poor quality, audio quality. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go.
Okay.
I wanted a podcast about serial killers. I couldn't find one, so I made one. Yeah, and it just kind of went from there. And this was back in July 2016. I mean, yeah, July 2016. That was when I started.
Yeah, I was looking at your website yesterday and today, and I saw that. I was like, oh, well, it must be coming up around like the 1-year anniversary then.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Actually, I didn't. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm doing my my 1-year anniversary episode next. So.
Oh, look out! Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully it's gonna be something special.
You have anything in mind?
Well, I'm a bit torn because so far I've only done male serial killers.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe doing a female serial killer for once. But also, I know everyone wants me to make an episode about Ted Bundy. He's like the serial killer superstar.
Why do you think that is? Just like I don't think I'm torn because movies always movies come out and they always kind of base one serial killer, they star one serial killer, and it's usually fictional. But it's based off of a wide variety of different serial killers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so you never really have one. I don't personally have like a superstar serial killer. I mean, it sounds silly. It sounds. This is why I really enjoy this webcast, because it sounds very odd for me to say like, yeah, I don't really have my favorite serial killer. Um, it's very weird. Anyways,
I
but so you think that the majority of listeners like Ted Bundy?
Yeah, he's the I call him a serial killer superstar because it's, of course, it's hyperbolic, but it's I think it fits because he's definitely the most famous one. If you ask 100 people on the street, have you heard about Ted Bundy? Then at least 20 will probably know who he is. But if you ask 100 people who Edmund Kemper was, or Richard Ramirez, or Gary Ridgway, or Pedro Lopez, then probably almost no one will know who they were.
Or Ed Gein.
So, but he's very famous. I think the main reason he's so famous is because he had Hollywood good looks. Yeah, he's a very, very handsome dude, and he's like the quintessential psychopath. He was very intelligent, probably around IQ of around 130, 140.
And he was a lawyer, right?
No, he was studying to be a lawyer. Okay. But he studied several things. He started and quit a lot of different courses. So he also did psychology, funnily enough. Because he was very well aware of his own problems. He knew that he wasn't right in the head, and he was fascinated by it. It didn't stop him, but he knew that what he did was very, very, very strange and very abnormal. So he started to study it and study psychology and all of that. So yeah, and also he wasn't the typical bullied at school as a young kid, abused at home. None of that happened to him. He had a very all-American upbringing. Of course, he had some issues with that was strange. He grew up thinking that his sister, no, that's the other way around. He grew up thinking that what he called mom was actually, he called her his sister, but it was actually his mom. Because his mother got him when she was very young, like 14 or something. And so the woman that Ted Bundy called mom was actually his grandmother, and the woman he called his sister was actually his mother.
Okay.
And he found that out as an adult. So that probably messed him up quite a bit. But they both his grandmother and mother really cared for him, and he had a stable upbringing, middle income household. He was never bullied. Got very well along with girls, of course, being a good looking guy as he was. He was very charming. And he was politically, yeah, sorry.
No, he is a unique serial killer, I suppose. I personally, I always thought like Dahmer is like the superstar for myself. Maybe because he's more around like my age range, as in terms of like growing up and knowing a serial killer that just got caught kind of deal. But going on Ted Bundy, I find him, as you're talking about him, I find him very unique because of everything that you're saying. You know, normal kind of lifestyle, except for obviously he likes to kill people. But a lot in the last podcast with one of your last ones with Pedro. In the part of it, you're explaining about his upbringing. And you do a great job because you mentioned this in a few other podcasts as well. But you're basically, you explain in a short snippet that you're not justifying these individuals going on these killing rants, but you do explain their history and their upbringings, and usually they're being abused. With this Pedro gentleman, gentleman with this Pedro character. He's growing up and basically looking at his mother doing sexual encounters like in front of him with variety of different guys. And who knows, like I was talking to a colleague of today with me today and just saying like, could you imagine being brought up like that? And the honest answer is nobody can unless you are brought up like that. And obviously I'm not saying like, okay, well, now I understand that's why he does it. I'm not saying, nobody is saying that that's okay. But the majority of these crazy serial killers are brought up in that kind of lifestyle. But Ted Bundy wasn't, right?
Yeah, that's true. Pedro, the world record holder of serial murder, with over 300 kills. Yeah, he had a very, very horrible upbringing. Yeah, probably the worst you can imagine, as you said. And he was raped.
By the way, over 300 kills. Is that confirmed, or is this, how they say, like, possibly?
Well, he was convicted of 157.
Okay.
But the thing is that he admitted to over 300, and the prosecutor said that we believe it's over 300, but we don't have the resources to go dig up all the 300 graves. So what they did, as I explained in the podcast, is that at first they didn't believe him when he said that he had killed so many.
Yes.
So
I don't know if I want to hear you right now because I haven't finished the end part, but go on. Keep going.
Oh, you should listen to it. It's
I'm halfway through.
Yeah, it's they took him out and they said, okay, well, show us. And he went and showed them 57 of the graves. Jesus. And it took like a month or something to do just that, to go from grave to grave to grave to grave. And he obviously relished visiting the graves because then he could relive the experience.
He just loved it.
Yeah, he loved it. He loved the attention. He loved being in control. And of course, he loved seeing his victims again. So they went to 57 of the graves. And they simply said, well, we believe you, Pedro. So yeah, he is most probably guilty of over 300 kills. So mainly Native American girls.
Wow, that's insane. So you're thinking about coming up with a special launch. You're going to be on your 1-year anniversary type. So you're going to launch this crazy special one, maybe with a female, maybe with Ted Bundy. Who knows? Just want to give the viewers, we have 5 live viewers right now, just to let everybody know that Thomas, sorry. What's your full name?
Thomas Wiborg-Thune.
Okay, it's very interesting speaking with you. By the way, listening to several a large number of your podcasts, and now putting your voice, speaking to you in a conversation, and then also thinking of the podcast is very weird to me as well. I almost feel like I want you to explain like a cliffhanger to me, like, "Thank you for coming, dear listener." You know what I mean? And then you always say these things in the I can't get it all. It'll come to me. But there's some things where I'm just like, maybe I just want to get him to say this, get him to say that. The things that you always say.
Yeah, like let's see if I can get this here. Welcome to the Serial Killer Podcast.
Yes. That is awesome. So we have 5 listeners right now. We're going to probably a lot more are going to listen to this later on. Just to give you everybody a heads up that the serial killer podcast right now has over 1.2 million downloads. Is that for the last year?
Well, it's 1.7 million downloads.
Sorry, Thomas.
And but it's in the it's in 12 months. That's correct.
Okay. So 1.7 million from the United States, 61,000 from Sweden. And just to let everybody know, Thomas is Norwegian. And I'm looking at this small report that you sent over to me, and I don't see any Norwegian downloads. Oh, yeah, sorry, I do. 11,000.
Yeah. It's 1.2 million in the United States and 11,776 in Norway.
Okay. and total downloads so I see what you're talking about. 1.6 total downloads, an average of 240,000 downloads, unique downloads every single month. Is that right? Or is that right?
Yeah, I think so. It's of course gone down in June because I didn't have an episode. I was on summer holiday.
Well, you crazy son of a bitch, get on your job.
But yeah, if let's see if we go to general here and take a look, and I had in per month, it's May I had 248,598. In June I had 205,000.
That's crazy. That's awesome. Those are great numbers.
Yeah, it's quite high. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, you're doing a fantastic job. I love the way you lay out your whole kind of storyline. You have the beginning, the middle, the end. The voice, the way that you enunciate things, dear listeners, is just I love that shit. So yeah, 1.7 million unique downloads for the full year. 143 average downloads every single episode. Like, these numbers are crazy. And they just speak to your talent, that you're really good at doing these podcasts. So getting back to the next one and your 1 year anniversary coming up, it's in July, or is it June? Do we pass it, or is it coming up?
It's coming up. It's I think it's in late July that I had my first one. Okay. I can check it out, actually. I think it's let's see here. Jeffrey Dahmer was no, it's actually I passed it, actually. It's the 9th of July 2016 was the very first episode.
9th of July. Okay, well, happy belated birthday, podcast birthday for you. But I was just going to mention, mine's going blank here. It's one of the unfortunate things with my memory. I think of a question, then I go and forget it. But yeah, no, going on about how you're getting started, and when you're looking for other serial killer podcasts, and that's something that you want, and then you're like, okay, well, if nothing's there, you're going to just basically do it yourself. That's how I found you as well. I'm fascinated with serial killers. I have been for a very long time. People that act this way, I'm just like, why? How can you do this as some other individual? And then I went on to the iPhone, the podcast for Apple, and then I just typed in serial. I think I just typed in serial killer podcast or serial killers, and I found you. So just let everybody know, if they want to listen to this podcast, just go to any kind of podcast app, type in the serial killer podcast. I'm going to put in links. All of these links will be in the description of the video. I'll try to put them throughout the video as well, so it's easy to find you. Again, my channel is Promote Your Business in Oslo, or you can just search PYBIO. It's pretty easy to find. And I've done 2 webcasts. This is my 3rd one, and I'm sorry, Norway Nurse, and I'm sorry, Legolas and .no, but this is one of my favorites so far. I feel like a little kid getting to talk to like a kind of a movie star.
Well, thanks. It's great to be interviewed. I've never been interviewed before. I love talking about serial killers.
Have you ever spoken to one in real life?
No, I haven't, and hopefully, I'm in a future episode, I'll be able to record an interview with one of the guys sitting in jail at the moment. You have Edmund Kemper, for example. He's still alive.
Okay.
And as far as I know, anyway, and he's very chatty.
Is this in the By the way, you kind of have a creepy voice when you explain it. He's very chatty. Anyway, so this guy you want to speak to, where is he? Is he in the U.S. or where is he based?
Yeah, he's in America. I think he's in Gattaca, I think, in New York.
Okay. And is this in the process? So. Are you already reaching out to him?
No. I haven't started anything like that. I just know because there's a lot of interviews with Edmund Kemper, because he is one of the most intelligent serial killers around. He has an IQ of about 160.
Oof, okay.
So that's genius levels.
Yeah.
And he wasn't caught. He turned himself in because he didn't want to continue.
Retired.
Yeah, he simply
Wow.
retired. And he loves talking about what he did, and he loves the attention. So he's apparently quite easy to get a hold of, and he's not in maximum security as most of them are. He's in more of relaxed settings. He's up for parole, I think, actually, and he doesn't want to be released. So every time he's up for parole, because he got like 30 life sentences, but they weren't to be served consecutively, so he's up for parole every 4 years now, I think.
That's interesting how that happens.
Yeah, that's it's quite odd because in America you have such a huge gap between sentencing. You have people getting caught with some drugs, and they're sent away for life, 50, 60 years,
mm-hmm.
Put in a hole for life. And then you have serial killers, and they simply serve maybe 20 years and they're out. So it's strange how they change. And you also have the death penalty being applied quite differently. A lot of people get the death sentence only for killing someone during a robbery, while a lot of serial killers, they don't get the death penalty because they confess.
Okay, so I'm curious about that you bring that up. What is your kind of thought towards the death penalty?
I'm very much against it. Yeah, of course. I'm a Norwegian, so in American terms, I'm super liberal on most issues. In Norway, I'm probably right wing, but very much against the death penalty. Every civilized country has abolished the death penalty a long time ago, so it's only America left among the civilized countries.
I have no idea what I like. The way I look at it is like, I would never, this is the thing. If I was the one to actually take the life of someone else, if we believe in capital punishment and I'm the one that's going to do it, then I'm like, no, hell no. And then, so how can I have that? How can I believe like someone that actually, like I have a son and I have a daughter. If someone came into my house and took their lives, I flick a switch and I'm like, yep, take them away. And I don't care what you do with them. And then as opposed, if it's never happened to anyone that I don't know and it doesn't impact me, sadly, that's just the reality of, that's just human behavior. It doesn't affect me, doesn't impact me. I'm just like, maybe, we can counsel them and help them and, help them out. I don't know.
Well, I'm very much against the death penalty, but I'm very much for life imprisonment because these are extremely dangerous people.
Yes.
And they can't be cured. Psychopathy.
Yeah, you got me now. Psychopathy. Yeah, I can't say it either. Have you ever? I can't think of the name of this female, but we can look her up.
Eileen Wuornos?
Is this the one that was a serial killer? Well, wasn't a serial killer. She may have killed someone when she was younger. She was torturing her younger brother, when she was around 5 or 6 years old. And then she went into a new family, and they basically helped her. And they had other counselors obviously help her. And she grew up to live a normal life. She's alive today. And if you talk, and there's other, have you heard of her?
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll have to find her name for you. It's crazy. It's basically, she would 100%, no doubt in my mind. I'm not an expert, but no doubt in my mind, if she is basically looking at her brother and stabbing him with, I think it was like a pencil or something like that, and her parents all of a sudden they'd hear their son screaming, and they'd come in and see her stabbing him with, it might not have been a pencil, might have been something else, but stabbing him with something, and they take her away. They would have to lock her because I guess one time that she tried to attack them with her scissors. But to make this story short, is that they got her help when she was younger. She did go through this, like growing up with these, kind of a terrible lifestyle, upbringing, and she was put into a foster home, and these people basically showed her love and showed her care and said, these things are wrong. This isn't how you treat other human beings, and raised her. And you talked to her today, and she's a very normal. I think she's married with kids. Probably extremely embarrassed about her childhood past. But
right. Well, that doesn't sound to. I'm not an expert either, but that doesn't sound like psychopathy. That sounds more like traumatized child acting out.
Fair enough.
Trying to project her pain onto others to feel less pain herself. But the most typical signs of psychopathy is torturing of animals, and a lot of petty crime like theft, stealing candy, beating up other kids, especially weaker kids, like this relentless pattern of not caring about doing things that are ethically and legally wrong. That's.
I was trying to find her. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, it's and not all serial killers are psychopaths. That's also important to remember. You have Eileen Wuornos, the very famous serial killer from Florida. Well, she was executed in Florida anyway. She was a prostitute, and they made a movie about her, Monster. You've probably seen it.
Yes.
Yeah, very good movie. And she wasn't a psychopath, but she did kill 7 people. So,
what's the definition between, say, a serial killer and a mass murderer?
Well, yeah, that is an interesting topic. You have the FBI changed their definition quite recently, and they used to have what I use as my definition, which is 3 or more people with a significant cooling off period between each kill. That's the classic definition. But they now have changed it so that it's 2 or more people with a cooling off period between. I think that's a bit too easy, because then you have like all the gangbangers. That's when they go on a drive-by shooting and they kill a guy, and then next month they kill a guy in a bar brawl. Is that a serial killer? I don't think so.
I don't.
That doesn't fit the criteria. But if you have 3 or more, then you immediately get you narrow the field quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that. Now, I don't know if you must know her, Karla Homolka.
Yeah, she's in Canada, isn't she? Living a happy life.
Yes.
Yeah, so, isn't that fascinating?
No. Yes, it is. It's a little scary. She was actually, I think she's in Cuba for a little while. They found her there.
Not in Cuba. She was in the Caribbean. I think it was in the one of the ABC islands, like Aruba or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, living the life.
Living the life, having a grand old time, and married to some rich dude, and went back to Canada, and now she has kids of her own, and lives a suburban life.
So what are your thoughts on her? What do you think? Do you think she should have been locked up for life? What do you think?
Most definitely. This is very controversial territory, because I know it's a huge political issue in Canada, but I think it's a very unfortunate result of gender politics gone wrong. Her husband, the primus motor of the killings, he's locked away for life, but Karla was the one who found the victims. Karla was the one who lured them into the car. Karla was the one who egged him on to kill these poor young girls.
That's nuts.
So and she got away because she's a woman. And when you look at sentencing among killers, women always get lower sentencing than men. It's systematic, especially in North America.
Yeah, I saw her walking around. I saw a picture. I guess she's in Quebec now. I'm pretty sure. And I saw, and I felt, this is weird. It's so weird saying this. I felt bad for her, and not bad for. Actually, you know what? I didn't feel bad for her. I felt really bad for her kids. So she's got these kids now following her around, and that's who's raising them, and that's their mom. And I couldn't imagine what they have to go through or what they're going to go through throughout life when, when they're growing up and all, they have basically a monster for a mom. But at the same time, I feel bad for the media and everybody following her around and, in a sense, terrorizing her and terrorizing her kids. It sucks. You know what I mean? Because they're never going to live really a normal life unless they find some kind of crazy island all off by themselves without any media.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If she didn't want the attention, she should have stayed abroad.
Fair enough. But they found her on that ABC island that you were talking about in Aruba or wherever. They still found her.
Yeah, they found her, but they can't, follow her around every day down in the Caribbean. That's too expensive for the media.
So do you think that she enjoys this?
Oh yeah.
That's disgusting. Yeah, I hear you. That's So do you think that she could potentially, like, she was actually involved somehow with Lucas Magnota? You remember that guy? Have you heard of him?
Oh, the guy with the fake name. The gay guy who was he was trying to be like a movie star.
Yes.
And he posted that horrible video that went viral of him killing a guy.
A one ice pick, one person or something like that. Ice pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she was involved with him.
Yes.
Was she?
Well,
really?
I don't know if that's been confirmed, but he claimed it, and I don't know if that had been confirmed where they could actually find a link. They definitely did connect, or he reached out to her. I don't know if she reached out back, but yeah, there was some type of an attempted connection there.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
No,
his kind of thing is very typical her. Yeah, right up her alley. Binding someone to the bed and sexually torturing them. That's her modus operandi. Yeah,
I feel like that guy craves more attention than he does to crave killing people. I don't know if I watched some of his videos. Lucas Magnota, I'm pretty sure that's his name. And his videos are just so gross. Like he's been involved in a lot of like trying to fix his face up. He's done like so many plastic surgeries to make himself look better, and he claims to be in a whole bunch of different porn movies, and the way that he speaks about himself just gives you this you're watching, it's like, oh, you just want to slap him and be like, dude, calm down, man.
Yeah. Sword and Scale did an excellent episode on him.
Who's that?
Sword and Scale. It's a very, very good podcast, true crime podcast. It's very good. It's mostly about individual murders and kidnappings and that sort of thing. But occasionally they cover serial killers, but not often. The host doesn't like serial killers, so it's mostly about other things, such as this Lucas Magnota, what his name was. And it's a very good episode. You should listen to it. And there's a lot of recordings there of him talking, this Lucas guy, and it's so cringy. It's very similar to the guy who did a massacre in California. The
yes,
the one who posted the video about how girls wouldn't have sex with him.
He wrote a book. He has a whole manifesto. I read part of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a book. He released his manifesto. He has it like how they wouldn't date me. Like, yeah, you're right. You know what? Well, is it the same guy? No, it's not. Couldn't be the same guy. But yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, so yeah, I read as part of his manifesto, and he just, yeah, you're right. It's identical. The type of personality traits, that I went out, and they don't know how to act either, which is also sad. But he has this part where he's on this bench because he wants to go talk to girls and be with girls, etc. So he goes out to this park, sits down at the park, and is sitting there. And he's like, he sees this girl coming up, and he's looking at her, and he's like, okay, well, why didn't she come talk to me? I'm cool. I'm a nice guy. What's wrong with her? I'm here for her. I'm here for her.
Yeah.
And then he sits there. She goes by, and then he sees another couple. Not another couple. He sees a couple, and they're kissing, and they're making out in the park field or whatever. And it just pisses him off. And he's like, I just wanted to go and hit them with my car, drive over them, etc. How dare they do this in front of me? How rude is it? Blah blah blah. It's crazy. And that's how I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with him. He's no longer around. The cop shot that guy. But yeah, it's crazy how they view the world.
Yeah, they're narcissists, and they're also, at least probably both, I'm guessing. They show very typical traits of Asperger's.
Asperger's.
It's a form of autism.
Oh, Oh, yeah, yes, Asperger's. Okay, sorry, I'm like Asperger's. Like, where are we going?
Sounds like Asperger's, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, it's because it's the lack of awareness of how other people view you. They only view the world as in that they think everything revolves around them.
Okay.
And they don't understand empathy. They don't understand how to interpret body language. They don't know how to interpret hints or like innuendo, sarcasm, irony. They don't get that.
Do you think anyone is born into that, or do you think that you pretty much have to be raised into being that way?
No, that's a mental disorder. So that is an actual. You're on the spectrum of autism if you have it. So then you have it for life.
Okay.
So, but there's a lot of high functioning people with Asperger's, or how you pronounce it, and of course never do anything. The vast majority never do anything wrong ever. They're just kind of awkward. If you combine that illness or disability with narcissism, then you have a problem, because that only adds to the problem. And of course, if you, in addition to that, also is a sociopath,
yes,
then you get an even worse situation. So I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, probably has a bit of everything.
Okay. Is he still? No, he's not alive. Sorry, he got killed.
No. Right? He got murdered in jail. Got
a broomstick.
It was one of the dumbbells.
Yes.
The dumbbell bar.
Okay.
It was a dumbbell bar that his inmate smashed his skull in with.
I'm not sure how to describe this, but I'm not sure if it rings true. Did they find that up his ass?
I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. I think they basically found the guy just standing there with the iron bar in his hand with blood everywhere, because he didn't just kill Jeffrey, he also killed the other guy with them.
Oh, I didn't know about this. Okay.
Yeah. It was two guys that he killed.
And were they both serial killers, or? No,
the other guy was just there.
So okay. So this guy, did he target Dahmer, or
he targeted Dahmer, and then the other guy tried to stop him, I think, so he killed him as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. Dahmer had it coming, because he he was taunting the guy in the cafeteria. He had like ketchup on his plate, and he was looking at this guy who eventually killed him, grinning and laughing and drawing like bodies with the ketchup.
Oh, okay.
Writing murder and drawing penises and stuff like that.
At this, okay.
At this guy, just taunting him.
Just so, do you know anything about the guy that killed him? Then was he in there for? What was he?
He was in for murder.
Not a good idea there, Dahmer.
Yeah, he wasn't the brightest guy around. I think he was not.
No, he was dumb.
Super intelligent. Yeah, he was not very intelligent. He didn't do well in school. He He didn't do. I don't think he went to college. He had a low-paying job, very small apartment. Didn't have a lot of money. So yeah, he wasn't very intelligent.
Lived with his parents for a while as well, I think, right?
For a while, and his grandmother.
Yeah.
But he moved on his own in his 20s. So, but he went home to visit his parents, and his parents. That's what's so odd about Dahmer, because his parents were very stable,
Yes.
very loving. Never did anything wrong. Never raised a hand on him.
Yeah. Right.
And still, it turned out to be so very, very evil. And yeah,
There is I remember there was just I don't remember if it was a serial killer or just some crazy person that had actually said to the police that you need to do a biopsy or an autopsy, whatever the difference is, on my brain after I'm dead, and because I think there's something wrong with me. And then they did it, and they actually did determine that he had a pattern with something that makes him crazy. Is it?
I think I might be wrong, but I think you're confusing a serial killer with a mass murderer there, because you have the Texas tower shooter, the one who went up to the bell tower in the.
Maybe that's you're right. This is the guy that said this.
The guy who went up to the clock tower in the universe. I think Austin. I'm not sure if it's Austin or Houston or where it was, but it was, or Dallas, one of the big cities in Texas. And he went up to this high tower, and he brought a rifle, and he just started shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And he killed quite a lot of people before the police managed to kill him. A letter, please do an autopsy on my brain. There is something very wrong. I can't stop myself. This isn't right. And they did find a tumor pressing on the part of the brain controlling inhibition and judgment.
Yeah. I think that's crazy. So he basically, I mean, and did he? Sorry, is he alive? Is he dead? What happened?
No, he was shot dead. Yeah,
he was shot dead. Oh yeah, obviously
with a shotgun.
Yeah, obviously they took a look at his brain. So silly question. So, but that doesn't ring true with serial killers. They don't have that. They may have that, but that's not.
They have. A lot of them are sexual psychopaths, and psychopathy is a physical flaw in your brain. You lack certain connections in your frontal lobe, I think it is, because the most you have now, of course, the medical terminology on these things are more advanced today. So I'm using archaic language that most people understand, because you have sociopathy and you have psychopathy, and the medical community doesn't use any of those anymore. I think they use antisocial personality disorder or something like that, degrees of that. But it's more easy to understand when you talk about sociopathy and psychopathy, because sociopathy, then you are a person that don't care about other people. You don't have empathy. So if you want something, you just do whatever you can to get that thing, no matter the consequences to other people.
Do any sorry to interrupt you, just curious, do any serial killers ever have empathy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, you have several serial killers that killed because of they were hitmen, for example.
Oh, fair enough. Yes,
yeah. Okay. And again, the example with Eileen Wuornos, she was quite remorseful of at least one of her victims. She killed him because she knew that if she didn't, then he would go to the police.
Mm-hmm.
And so she killed him, but she didn't want to kill him, but she did it anyway.
But do you know how much do you know if there's any type of statistics on how much more serial killers are there out there that more than likely haven't been caught? Is there anything out there?
Oh yeah. FBI has. They claim, the FBI said that at any single moment in America, there are 10 serial killers on the loose.
Any single what?
At any single time, there are between 10 and 50 serial killers active in North America.
Active?
Yeah, active serial killers in North America at any single moment of time. Like right now, there are between 10 and 50 active serial killers going free.
Do you think that's low? I think that's low.
I don't know. But of course, it depends on the definition, because if you're using 2 or more, then there's a whole bunch more. But
That's
if you're using the classical 3 or more with a significant cooling off period, then I don't know. I mean, it's here in Norway where we are. We only have 1 confirmed serial killer in history.
Who's that?
That is a guy who's on the loose, actually.
Oh no! Locking my doors! Locking my doors! Thomas. Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, his name is Arnfinn Nesset. I'm going to do I'm probably going to do an episode on that. He was very prolific. He killed 70 people in the 1980s. And he was one of those angels of death type of killers. He was a head nurse at a nursing home in the middle of Norway. And he went around and injected people with poison, paralyzing them and suffocating them.
Oh, okay.
It's with a poison called Kurasit, which is a... you can feel everything, but you can't move on your muscle.
Oh no! Did he do things after?
No, he just liked to watch them die. So he got incarcerated for 20 years, and as you know, in Norway there's a maximum of 21 years. So he got released after serving 20 years, and he now lives under a new name in an unknown location in Gudbrandsdalen, here in Norway. But he's an old man. He's 70 something.
Okay. So yeah, wow. I know. Okay, so you're going to do it. So how many people did you say he killed? 70?
70, yeah.
Jesus, 21 years, 70, and the prisons here. Just so the dear viewers, so you know, if you are curious about accommodations in prison in Norway, you should definitely Google it. Michael Moore has a documentary about it, and he might. Well, actually, a little bit insight. Anders Breivik recently had complained because he had a PS2, a PlayStation 2, I believe, and he was saying that it's almost torture because he wasn't allowed to get the newer games for the PS3 or something like around those lines.
Yeah, he's changed his name now.
Oh, what is it?
It's Fjotolf Hansen.
What's this? Is relating to someone?
Well, he wants attention. He's an attention whore. That guy is horrible. I don't like him at all. And he lives on attention. That's his whole purpose for living. And when he's isolated in jail, he doesn't get any attention. So he tries everything to get attention. And one of the things he can do is complain about his living conditions.
Okay, yeah.
That always get a lot of press. And he can change his name to something stupid, which, of course, Fjotolf Hansen. It's especially the first name Fjotolf. It's very similar to like a derogatory term in Norway called fjott.
Okay.
Which is like a dunce. So everyone's laughing at that, but he probably knew what he was doing. He wants people to talk about him. So yeah, but he lives in 2 rooms. He has 2 rooms isolated in Halden prison, I think it is. And he has a PlayStation 2, he has a treadmill, and he has an offline computer that he can write his manifesto on. He has a TV, he has newspapers, any book he wants, a bed, and that's about it, I think.
So I have to ask, and I'm not saying right or wrong here, but earlier on you had said that you do believe in incarceration for these individuals, and you obviously hate this dude. What are you must be torn with setting him up in accommodations like this that were much better than what I went through in my late teens, early 20s through college. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm a very firm believer in that prison should be used to secure society, not to punish. I don't like punishment for punishment's sake. I think it's medieval. It doesn't do any good. It feeds into this kind of bloodlust, and so I don't like that. I think prisoners should have as comfortable living conditions as possible. I think they should have access to games, books, literature, and anything that modern society and modern comforts can give them, but they should be isolated from society because they're a danger to society, and they should be separated from society. So I hate that guy, that terrorist, because of what he did. But I don't want my feelings to be the one that determines what sort of punishment he gets, because I think the important thing that he never gets out, and that he's forever locked away and removed from Norwegian society. And I don't think it's ethically or morally right to torture him. Isolation it's psychological torture. It's you have to experience it to understand how bad it actually
Agreed.
is. So
I understand what you mean.
So I'm not in favor of the whole punishment should be painful and all of that. I don't agree with it. I think it should be comfortable, but you should be isolated, and you should have your freedom taken away.
Mm-hmm.
That's punishment enough.
So
yeah, very liberal.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's just it's interesting to hear your perspective of it, because it's like you said, you hate this guy, but you're okay. It sounds like you're pretty much okay with the way he's set up.
Yeah, I am.
Do you think he'll get out?
No, I don't think he'll get out. I have to check something real quick.
Yeah.
It's my
text message.
Yeah,
no problem. While you're doing that, we've decreased down to a whopping 4 viewers right now. My record, just to let you know, is I believe it's 6 during my last webcast. We had 6 at one point on here. Speaking with Thomas, he is the creator of the Serial Killer podcast. It's been out for 1 year. 1 year as of about 2 weeks ago, July 7th, I believe you said.
That's correct. It's 9th of July was the very first episode.
9th of July. And we're just talking right now about the accommodations of Anders Breivik. If you're just tuning in, if you're just one of the recent viewers that left and came back, about his accommodations. And there's a maximum sentencing here in Norway, 21 years. I thought it was actually 20, but you're saying it's 21?
Yeah, it's we have something called forvaring, or secure incarceration, I think it's in English, because the maximum prison sentence that you can get is 21 years. But in Norway, it's the way it functions is that in practice, a prison year is 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you get 21 years, you're usually out in like 15 or 16 years.
And what do you think will happen with Breivik? Just to interrupt you, a lot of people probably don't know about Breivik because it was a Norwegian crazy situation, and a lot of people only are in tune to things that happen in the U.S.
Right.
So Breivik was a political crazy guy, right?
Well, yeah, he's the most famous Norwegian terrorist.
100%,
He blew up the Norwegian, not the parliament, but the
prime minister's building.
The government's building, the place where the prime minister and his cabinet is located. He blew that up and killed a lot of people doing that with a car bomb. And after he had blown it up, he drove to a place called Utøya, and the Norwegian Labour Party youth had a summer camp there. So he impersonated a police officer, took a boat out to this island where all of these children were staying, and he had with him a rifle and a shotgun and a pistol. And when he arrived on the island, he started by shooting the security guy that was escorting him in the back of the head. Then he shot then he shot the manager, a middle-aged woman, in the face. And then he just went on a rampage and killed over 70 kids.
Even to add to that, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I read or heard, is that he actually, because he was acting out as if he was a police officer, he actually gathered everybody to have some type of an announcement, maybe about the bombings, but got everybody in one area and then just opened fire.
Yeah, that's correct. He said, everybody gather around. Okay. I'm from the police. I'm here to tell you about what we're going to do and blah, blah, blah. And then he started firing. People ran away, and he went after them. And while he was walking around, he was saying, "It's okay. The danger is over. I'm a police officer. Come out, come out."
Yeah, because not everybody saw him doing it.
No, people were spread out all over the island. Yeah, bathing and sunbathing and hanging around in their tents.
I never even heard about that part, but yeah, I can understand how that would have happened. I don't want to go too on about that guy, because he actually, I wouldn't think that he is a serial killer. He could be a mass murderer.
He is not a serial killer. He's a mass murderer.
Right.
Very different.
Right. So no podcast on that guy.
Not yet. But the thing is that my podcast is about serial killers. But there are a finite amount of famous serial killers to choose from.
Yeah, so, but they're always 15. They're all gonna get you have lots to pick.
Yeah, definitely. But hopefully, if the show continues its success, I might be able to expand a little bit and maybe do mass murders and very chilling, very infamous murders, that sort of thing. So, for example, I'm very interested in doing a podcast on the Ed Gein case.
Yes, I pronounce it Ed Gein. Ed Gein, eh? Is that the correct pronunciation? Whatever.
Well, I've always heard Ed Gein.
Okay.
When I listen to the YouTube documentaries and that sort of thing, but and also in the film American Psycho.
You're in it,
Patrick Bateman.
Sorry, I thought you had just said you're in it for.
No. When I watched the film American Psycho with Christian Bale, the protagonist Patrick Bateman, he talks about Ed Gein, and he says Ed Gein, not Ed Gein. So
okay.
So I think it's Ed Gein. Okay. But yeah, he was the guy that was the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. He was also the inspiration for Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay. For cannibal, he ate people?
No, but he's not the inspiration for Hannibal Lecter. He's the inspiration for Buffalo Bill. Did you see Silence of the Lambs?
Yes.
Yeah, and you have Hannibal Lecter. That's the the guy helping the police officer, Clarice, from jail to find Buffalo Bill, which is the serial killer using the skin of fat girls to make himself a suit, a human skin suit.
Right.
Because he wants to be a woman. And that's based on...
See, I don't put these things together when I watch these horror movies.
So yeah, and that's based on Buffalo Bill, because that's what... not based on Buffalo Bill. That's based on Ed Gein, because that's what he did. He skinned his victims and made like a glove out of human skin. He made lampshades out of human skin. He started making a suit out of human skin, like with tits and everything.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Did he only kill one person? And
he killed two.
Oh, he killed
He
two.
killed
Okay.
two, yeah, and he dug up the rest from the
Yes.
graveyard. So he's not a serial killer, but his behavior is very much that of a serial killer. He's an obvious psychopath and
Yes.
a deranged individual. But,
Creepy looking old guy. Creepy. Old
yeah, very, very creepy. And his house, that's one creepy house. I mean, when you see the photos of that house out on the field, it's so creepy. No electricity, all the windows pitch black.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, really bad. And there are footage of the police officers entering the house, finding all of these horrible things inside, and there's just so much debris, so much filth everywhere.
Who's a serial killer that has a house as a maze?
Oh, that is one of my very favorite serial killers. He is known as H.H. Holmes.
Yes, yes, super classic one too, right? He's classic.
Oh yeah. He's the Devil in the White City. It's a movie coming out now shortly.
Okay.
Based on an excellent novel. I recommend it in one of my sponsored episodes, actually. It's a very good book. It's called The Devil in the White City, and it's about H.H. Holmes and how he took advantage of the Chicago World's Fair in 1898, was it? Well, the Belle Epoque, my favorite era of all time. Was this on the brink of the modern era, the crossroads between the old times and like the agricultural classical society and the new world with electricity and cars and new technology and modern medicine and all of that. So it's a very, very interesting era with a lot of fascinating things happening. And H.H. Holmes, very intelligent young man, con man. He was a con man. He bought himself a hotel, well, basically a house, apartment house, that he converted into a hotel. And he killed a lot of the workers working on it.
Right, so nobody would know.
Yeah, and the workers working on his hotel, one person didn't know what the other person was doing. So no one knew the entire layout. Only he had the blueprint of the whole place. So he had airtight rooms. So when you booked into the hotel, he could lock the door from outside. The room would be sealed shut. It would be airtight. And he would pump gas in, and you would suffocate. And he would love to sit outside and listen to you scream and shout for help. And you slowly suffocated to death. And sometimes you didn't suffocate to death, you only passed out. And then he would take you down to his basement, where he had an operating table, where he would dissect and do live vivisections of people while they were alive without anesthesia.
Okay.
Yeah, where he would flay people alive and take out their innards. And
you have not done a podcast on him?
I haven't, and I'm going to. It's one of those, probably a double episode.
Okay.
He's very well researched, very interesting guy, and such an interesting period. There's a lot of it. I like to try to talk about a little bit about the settings of the various serial killers, on where they operated and what the society was like and the conditions. Okay. So, for example, you have my most critiqued episode, the Atlanta Ripper, where I feign a somewhat southern accent. It's not very popular. But in this episode, I tried to talk a little bit about the conditions that this serial killer was operating in.
Okay.
This was in the Deep South during just after the end of slavery. So black people didn't have any rights. If black people were killed, the police didn't do anything. Racism was not only common; it was the law. So it was a very strange period when you look at it from a modern eye. And this serial killer, he killed only black women, and he could operate almost indiscriminately because the police didn't do much to stop him. So yeah, it's interesting to try to give a little bit of context to the society and area that these killers operate.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of different things. I don't even think that I kind of realize. It just kind of, you create these, you make us use our imagination, I think, and we can envision kind of the scene. And you bring in a lot of these types of, I don't know, I don't want to call them assets, but like you describe certain things where it attracts me at least to keep listening.
Just 2 seconds, 2 minutes. Yeah.
So just to keep everybody in the loop, Thomas is the creator of the Serial Killer podcast. He has been doing it for a year and about a week now. He started July I think he said the 7th or 9th in 2016. So you can find it if you just go to any kind of podcast app and just type in the Serial Killer podcast. I will also put links in the description of this video that you can check out to connect and listen to his podcast. Awesome podcast. If you have any kind of fascination or you're wondering about, no problem. I was just talking about your podcast. If you have any questions, you can always connect with him via his website or the fan page. By the way, he also has a fan page now. I'm working on that with Thomas. Trying to blow it up in terms of popularity. I think you have an insane amount of potential. And before we started this whole conversation, I tried to promote this in a number of different groups, and I was very amazed how many groups there are on Facebook dedicated to serial killers and fascinations. There are at least 20, and I don't think, maybe about 5% have less than 1,000. Some have 5,000, some have 10,000. Huge audience. And I think also because a lot of times when you join a group, other friends can see you, that you're a part of that group. So I think some people don't like the idea of other people, their friends or family, knowing that they're fascinated with serial killers. I think it's kind of a scary and odd topic to talk about, but mature, grow up. These guys are. It's like thinking about I don't know how to compare it, but I think these guys are crazy. These women. I mean, you haven't done one podcast yet, as of yet, right? With a female, you're saying, right?
That is correct. I'm probably going to do that as the 1-year anniversary. Do a woman serial killer. There are quite a few.
Have you heard of Fred and Rose West?
They're very famous. So poor Fred, he was totally controlled by Rose. So
yeah. That was actually one. I think not one of. I think that was the first serial killer book I read. You know what? I'll be honest. First whole serial killer book only serial killer book I've read. I'm a big fan of like articles and posts and listening, things like that, and catalogs. But yeah, so one that I did read, and a great book. I think I got it off my stepfather actually a long time ago. They're in the UK, right? Were they in the UK? Thomas?
2 seconds. Yeah, yes, they're in the UK.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed reading that a lot. The crazy things, like just the description of what Fred and Rose did in their cellar, how they had hooks hanging up, and they would hang their victims up, and she would force him to do certain things. And I don't think you're right. I don't think he forced her to do almost anything. she was a prostitute. She would have him do certain, like, it all. Yeah, you're right. She would always have Fred do certain things. And it's crazy too, because this was done in the UK, and I remember seeing pictures, and I looked them up on the internet, like see more pictures, and it's eerie because I see these pictures of their house and their backyard when police, do their investigation. And then I moved here to Norway from Canada, and then I start seeing like similarities, like in the like the European culture and European way is different from Canada. And so when I was new here, I would walk by some houses that are, made out of wood. Like that's not something that's very often where I'm from. Everything is brick. Or concrete, yeah. So wood houses or you have wood siding, but nothing is really, not a lot of made out of wood. So walking by these houses, and I'm just like, I imagine, I'm like, hey, I almost wish that police could just basically, I do and I don't. I wish they could just go up to everybody's cellar and just be like, hey, I have to check out your cellar this week because we have to make sure that you're not a serial killer, because if they did that, I bet you if they this is my thing. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I bet you if they checked 500 houses and they just went up to random houses, 500 of them, some guy might have someone locked up in their basement.
Maybe, but
and they're all in Europe, Thomas. No, I'm just but,
you have cellars in America too, It's
yes, we do. Yeah, but no, I guess I just started imagining it more when I was here, just because I don't know why. Just because I'm unfamiliar with the area.
Yeah, well, it's, as I said, Norway is it's a very safe country serial killer wise. Only have one confirmed killer.
He's out.
He's out and about. But if you really want to go into serial killer territory, then just go east. Go to Russia. Go to Ukraine. Go to Hungary. Go to the Balkans. Go to the Czech Republic. Yeah.
Just my 500 average would probably just go down. Like go to 100 houses. You'll probably find someone locked up then, locked up.
It's surprisingly common with serial murder in the East. So I have a few episodes on it, and but it's a shame because Western media doesn't cover crime in the Eastern Europe area.
No,
at
they don't at all.
And if you look it up online, there's so much horrible, very disturbing things going on right now that you simply never hear about. I mean, there were two kids, like I think they were around 18 years old.
Okay.
Boys, and they went around and found people indiscriminately. Some were homeless, some were just on their way home from work or from doing grocery shopping. And they had a camera and they filmed torturing and murdering them and put it online.
What website do they put this online to? Like Live Leak, YouTube? Like you think they'd get?
Yeah, just YouTube, because if you put it on YouTube, it takes a long time until it's censored.
Okay.
So, and there's a lot of places. It's other places than YouTube. You have, as you said, Live Leak. You have VidMe. You have there's a lot of video hosting sites, porn sites, of course. You could host. So yeah, and you can still find those videos online. And this is recent. This is like a year ago or something.
Yeah, it's weird, our fascination that we want to see that. Like my wife is a nurse, and I watched that Lucas Magnotta video, the ice pick one, where he's basically like stabbing and eating part of the body, and I don't know why. What's wrong with, like, I almost like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, why do I like, I'm watching it and I'm like, I can't, I'm like this.
Yeah. It's
and
like
my wife, yeah. And my wife is a nurse and she's just like, no, look. Nurses are a weird breed, man. I bet you I bet you, well, no, I can't. I don't want to offend her. I don't. She probably. But there's one time I was in the mall, and there's this guy, and she looks at me. She's like, I'd love to stick a needle in that guy.
What?
Yeah, and I'm like, I look at her, and I'm like thinking, like, in 1 second, I was like, serial killer. I'm like, is she crazy? Like, and I'm like, why? Why do you want to do that? And this is normal for nurses, Thomas. This is a normal thing because they stick needles in so many people. When you can see their veins, they love those people. So they want to stick needles in them.
Oh,
They
right.
have,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have
Because it's a hassle.
yeah, they have
Yeah.
preferential needle givers. So they see these people walking in the street, and they're actually thinking about this. And I was like, dude. Yeah, so just the person that you're referring to, the serial killer, is no nurse background.
Well, in Norway.
No, you said the next podcast might come out. It might be a female.
Oh, right. Yeah, no.
It's
no. It's either Eileen Vernos or a Norwegian descendant. In America called Belle Gunnes.
Okay.
So I think I'm leaning towards Eileen Vernos.
Okay, I won't ask you too much about that because these people. The thing is, we only have 2 viewers now, but I know that there's going to be a lot of viewership watching at least parts of this. So we'll get the word out there.
Well, let me just say, dear listener, the next episode will probably be of Eileen Vernos, a prostitute gone murderer. Stay tuned.
That's cool, man. I always want to sit back and like, no, keep going. Let's just do it right now. What do you got? Oh, you made me lose track now. I was going to say that I can't remember. I don't know where I'm going. Female serial killer. I forget.
Yeah, it's Eileen Vernos. She was a prostitute and killed 7 people. It's a movie of her, very famous.
Oh, yes. Famous actor.
So I'm probably going to do it about her, I think so. But I'm also going to do about Edmund Kemper. I'm going to do about H.H. Holmes. And of course, dear listener, I'm going to do a 3-part series on Ted Bundy.
Okay.
So all of that coming up.
So how long?
Months.
Getting into the technicalities of your podcast, how long does it? What do you do? Like you think of an individual, 2 or 3 different individuals. I'm guessing that you don't take different. Like you work on all of them at the same time, writing notes. What do you do? Walk me through that.
Well, it's usually like I go and basically just think about the various alternatives I have, and I mull it about in my head, and I start doing some research to see how easy it is to get material. It's a lot of variety on how easy it is to find material on the different serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
Some you would think there are a lot, like Pedro Lopez.
Yep.
He has the world record, and it was very difficult to find details on him. It was quite hard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was quite difficult.
I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, because he's from South America. It's not American, and as such, a lot less details.
Yeah.
But then again, you have other serial killers that you would think there were little information on, where there were actually quite a lot information, like the toy box killer. Not very famous serial killer, but there were a lot of information out there, a lot of material. So yeah, it's so I tried to look at how easy it is to get information, and then I look at what sort of information, how much detail there is, and then I pick one of them and I start writing a script, because of course I have to stay to a script. If I'm doing it off the cuff, then it's going to be terrible to listen to. Just a lot of
of course,
a lot of that. Yeah, so I have to have a script. So I spend the most time writing the script. That's what's most time consuming. And when I have the script ready, I do usually 2 audio takes. And it's quite taxing on my voice because I sit down and I talk for about 2 hours into the microphone continually. So yeah, that's taxing. And when I'm finished with that, I send the audio clip to my audio engineer, Joshua Quayle. He's in America.
Okay.
And he does the raw audio edit. And when I get it back from him, I usually have to do quite a few tweaks myself to put in some more pauses where I think there should be more pauses, fix some fine-tuning on the audio sound, the equalizer and that sort of thing. And when I'm finished with that, I simply put it on Libsyn and publish. So yeah, and when it's published, it's good to go. It's out there.
So yeah, no, I've always kind of, I think what I'd like to do with these webcasts is take out the audio and then make them into podcasts as well, because I find a lot of people, you know, they don't have the time to sit down and watch a whole video course, so they prefer just to listen to audio while they're on the train, etc. Like you said,
yeah,
you're looking for serial killers and just on the go.
Yeah.
But you're putting in a lot of time. What would you say total number of hours it takes you to do all of that work? If you had like an hour, because I think the majority of yours takes about an hour, the podcast, the average length.
Yeah, about an hour. Yeah, that's the average length of a podcast. I guess I'm using it's about a day, like a work day per episode.
And are you paying Joshua in the US?
Yes, he charges per minute of audio recording.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know how all the rates and things like that. I don't know really how that works, but okay. So it's per minute because yeah. On that, just what is your Patreon? Because you also have a Patreon account.
So I do.
What is Patreon, by the way? Because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Patreon is an excellent service that allows podcasters and content creators be less reliable on commercial actors. So it's a voluntary sponsorship system where listeners can support their favorite content creators, allowing the content creators to have less commercials in their episodes. So you can go on patreon.com/the serial killer podcast, and there you can donate monthly or a single amount, or and you can choose what amount you want, from $1 upwards to how much ever you want to donate, and then you are a patron of the arts.
I just remembered.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I just remembered what you say. I do this out of the labor of love. Labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in the beginning, I was like, "What is that other thing that you say all the time?" So sorry. Go on.
Making this podcast is a labor of love, but it is not free.
Yes.
So,
all right, man. It's been a pleasure. We've been talking our faces off for a long time. I don't know what we're going on here. Maybe
90 minutes.
90 minutes, so an hour and a half. I'll go through this and I'll chop some audio and video clips up. I'll send them over. I'll upload them to my YouTube channel. How people can get a hold of you is their Facebook page. What did we name it, by the way? We named it the
SK podcast. I think.
Yep. So Facebook.com/the SK podcast. I believe that'll go right to your
the SK podcast. Let's see. Yes, that's right. Facebook.com/the SK podcast.
So we can stay connected with you on there. Subscribe to my channel, YouTube.com. Don't worry about the channel. Actually, don't worry about the channel name. I have to get 100 subscribers before I can customize my URL, so that's a challenge for me. But if you just go type in PYBIO, PYBIO Webcast, you'll find my channel. That's about it, really. Well, I'll add more. You'll be able to connect with Thomas through the description below. Go ahead and click on there. Like, share, tweets, invite your friends. Definitely go to, what's your Patreon? Do you know your Patreon website off the top?
Yeah, patreon.com/the Serial Killer Podcast.
Go there, give Thomas a donation. I'm going to do that. You deserve it. There's not a lot of other people that are like you, not a lot of people with similar fascinations, crazy, weird, silly, something's wrong with me fascination. I'll admit it. I don't care. So yeah, I'm going to have to top you up some donations there with all the time and effort that you put into it. I never knew that you're spending so much time, had an audio engineer looking into it. Writing these scripts takes a ton of time for you to do. I'm going to try to do my best to get sponsorships for you. You did an awesome little blurb about Patreon. I'll cut that out. I'll send it to them, etc. I'll see if I can get you more viewerships. But I think your podcast is awesome. It's been a very huge pleasure for thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
We'll have to, if you're okay with it, we'll have to do it again. We'll have to meet up in Oslo, go for a beer, talk to me in your creepy podcast voice, bring your mic, and we'll stay connected, Thomas.
Most certainly will, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you creepy son of a bitch. I'm going to check into your history, too. It's probably more than just 2 Norwegian serial killers. All right, man. It's been great. And I'm going to stop the broadcast. Stay with me, and I'll talk more, all right?
See you around.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.